Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, an iHeartRadio Best Kids and Family Podcast Award nominee. We are so happy that you are part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. Please be sure to subscribe to this show on the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Amazon, Audible, Apple, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Joana Pastro. She is here to celebrate LillyBelle, a damsel not in distress. Hey, before our guest comes in, we gave a sneak preview of the Solve It for Kids podcast here on Reading with Your Kids, and it was so popular, it's like spun off. It spun off into its own thing. And my buddy, our dean of all things STEM and STEAM, Jennifer Swanson, is here to tell us a little bit about what's going on with this great new podcast. Hey, Jennifer, what's up?
Hi, Jed. Oh, I am so excited about our new podcast. We've been getting some great reviews. Everybody wants to find out what's going on and meet and listen to some of our scientists and engineers. We have done how do you map an underwater forest?
Yeah.
We have done how do you cut a person in half safely? Of course.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We have talked about improving your connection with water by going on a water walk, and we have watched Vanessa Brantley Newton create illustrations that come to life.
I took a water walk with my amazing niece. We had such a great time. I did fall into the water, but it was really, really fun. And I love the fact that all of our guests are giving our wonderful listeners challenges, really fun challenges that they can do together as a family. And that's so cool. Hey, tell everybody where they can find Solve It for Kids, because it's not on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. It's its own thing.
So please, if you want to keep listening, go over to iTunes and Apple Podcasts and subscribe. And you can download all 4 of the first episodes that we have, plus listen to all the new ones we have coming out. You can also find on Stitcher Radio and, of course, through our website, solveitforkids.com.
Jennifer, thanks so much. Thanks for letting me be part of this awesome, awesome, awesome podcast.
Well, we make a great STEM team, don't you think?
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, join us over at solveitforkids.com. Joining us on the line right now from Curitiba in the south of Brazil. I am so excited. Today we're talking about LillyBelle, a damsel not in distress. Please welcome to the show the author, Joana Pastro. Joana, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm really excited. I just, it shouldn't amaze me, but it still does amaze me. I'm of an age, if I wanted to call somebody, I had to stand up next to the thing on the wall that was, and speak to something that was connected to a wire, and I couldn't speak for that long because it would be expensive. And now, here we are, we're talking, I'm in the northern hemisphere, and I'm talking to someone in the southern hemisphere. It's a beautiful time to be alive.
Yes, it is. Yeah, and a beautiful time to live that far from your parents and family.
Yes, yes.
Because it makes it so much easier to just be able to, click and you can see them, and it's like the future is here.
Yeah. And I was mentioning to Joana earlier that my wife and I are traveling now because my kids, my adult kids are out of the house. One is out and the other is, back and forth. And, so now we probably once or twice a week, it's, onto FaceTime, and we have everybody on. We're looking at them through the magic of cell phones and video chat and all of that stuff. And it is just amazing.
Yes, you're right. And yeah, when I first moved to the States, this was 20 years ago, it was so different. Because even though the internet, it wasn't really, I think it had been around for a few years then, but it's still, we didn't have FaceTime. We couldn't talk through, and see each other in video calls. It was just, I remember the ICU, was that name? It was same. I see you, I see Q or something.
Something like that, yeah.
That you could have the chat rooms, and it was so much more difficult.
Well, I think one thing that's not difficult is to ask you to tell us all about LillyBelle, a damsel not in distress.
Okay, my pleasure. Yeah, so LillyBelle, a damsel not in distress, is about this little damsel, and she attends a damsel school, and she loves being a damsel. It's like she likes baking, and she likes all the damsel-y stuff. She's very feminine. She enjoys that. But the day her teacher says that she is supposed to find herself in distress and not try to run, she's just supposed to wait for rescue, that's when she goes, oh no, I'm not doing that. I want to be a damsel not in distress. So then, lo and behold, she finds herself in danger, and she manages to get out of danger by using her smarts and her damsel-y skills. So it's, and I think, so she gets out of danger, and I'm not going to spoil that. But she encounters several villains like witches and giant and an ogre, and while she's trying to escape, she's also being extra friendly. She makes new friends basically. So I think there is this big, there is obviously girl power as a theme, but I think there's this big thing about accepting others and friendship, and that's it. Yeah.
Those are, well, that's it. Those are so important topics to talk with our kids. The first thought that came to me as you're talking about this girl who is this damsel who is expected to sit back and wait to be saved when she's in distress. I thought about my daughter, and this is a book that she would have absolutely adored when she was a kid, because she was one of those young women who had no need for anybody to save her. She didn't need to wait around. She wasn't helpless. She wasn't planning to be helpless at all. She was going to figure out a way to help herself and empower herself.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and I see that, well, I remember being like that as a kid, and I see that in my daughter also. And I think because there's a lot of that mentality that either the girl is like a princess or she is a tomboy. Like, almost as if the girls, the children really, cannot be a little bit of everything.
Sure. And
so that's how LillyBelle started. I wanted to be a girl who likes pink, but also, is brave and strong and can get out of tough situations without needing help.
Yeah. And these, I think sometimes we talk about this, that LillyBelle is like a new kind of creation that we're just now helping girls to become strong and not kind of sit back and be helpless. But boy, I have to tell you, strong women have been around my entire life. My grandmother was a strong woman who didn't put up with anything and didn't need anybody to save her. And my mom was the same way. It's great that now we're kind of acknowledging the strength of women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because I never saw myself as weak or like as if I would need someone to save me, for instance. But at the same time, we all kind of accepted the Disney princesses or and we love it. But it's just why did we relate to that if we wouldn't do that? We wouldn't just wait. So it's interesting how it was just kind of like accepted that women are supposed to be like that, even though most of us aren't.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm trying to think at the top of my head if I know any women who just kind of sit back and wait for somebody to come and save them and do things for them, and I can't think of any off the top of my head. And I'm glad about that, because I love the partnerships that I have. Love the partnership that I have with my wife. I love watching my daughter succeed. I love the partnership I see with my daughter and my son, myself and my daughter. So this is wonderful. What a wonderful thing to celebrate in LillyBelle, a damsel not in distress. What inspired you to create LillyBelle?
So that's interesting, because I was writing middle grade novel, and that's how I started writing, really, and started my career, my journey as a children's book writer. And I was totally frustrated with that, because it was just, when I first started, it was like I just sat down and wrote whatever came to my head. So it was like this huge cliche collection. It wasn't good at all. Mm-hmm. And so I had been going to a critique group for a few years, wonderful friends that I made. But at that point I was like, you know what, I need to start this thing over. So I was really like disheartened by it. And then I saw a call for submissions from Cricket magazine for a short story, and the theme was knights and castles. So I took that and I started thinking, well, maybe I should write a short story just to take my mind off the novel for a bit. And then I started like brainstorming until I got to the phrase a damsel in distress. And I started thinking, no, why does a damsel have to be in distress? So I thought, no, I can write a story about a damsel not in distress. And I thought the title was kind of catchy. Mm-hmm. And that's how, like, I sat down to write with, and I was trying to think just the other day how the name came about, and I think it almost came together, like LillyBelle, she was never called a different name, and I sat down and I wrote, and in the beginning, actually, she did use her skills, but it was more of like she used embroidery to do some sword fighting. So it was a lot more, like she used her feminine skills with more, like, typically boy activities. Mm-hmm. So she would use the embroidery to sword fighting. And I remember, because it's been a while. But that kind, so she was a lot more boyish, I'll say. Or at least what is expected, right? For a boy. Yep. And it wasn't until a few revisions later that I started going to the other side where she just uses her smarts and her skills in a more organic way. So she didn't really need to change to become, to save herself, to rescue herself. Mm-hmm. So, and that's how it came about. So, many revisions later.
That's so cool. Now, has getting to know LillyBelle and watching her change and progress as, taking her from that first idea to now, has watching her grow helped you grow in any ways?
Oh, totally. Actually, so LillyBelle, because LillyBelle was my first, so it started as a short story. Mm-hmm. And I took it from, so I wrote the short story. I never submitted it to Cricket magazine because I guess I missed the deadline. And I took it to my critique group. And everyone loved the short story, which was like 2,000 words. And half of my critique group suggested I wrote a picture book, and the other half suggested I wrote a chapter book. Uh-huh. And I had zero experience with any of that. And basically, this is, if I'm not mistaken, this was 2016. So I spent, 2015, I think. Oh, I'm going to mess up my dates now. But I basically spent the following year trying to figure out where I should go with it. So I would write a little bit as a chapter book, then I would go to picture book. And I also took, one of my critique partners, she suggested I took the Refo Raymo challenge. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not.
Read for research month. Read for remote. and because that's a challenge that happens, I believe in March, where every day of the month they bring a different topic for research for picture books. So basically you have all these reading materials suggested to you for different kinds of picture books. Mm-hmm. And basically I fell in love all over again with picture books because I already loved them, but I didn't think I could write them because, they look so simple, but I never thought they were simple to write. Mm-hmm. And that's how I started slowly migrating to picture books. And so yes, I guess it was LillyBelle who made me become a picture book writer and grow within that kind of writing.
Now, it's interesting, you started your career as an architect. Are there any similarities between being an architect and being a children's picture book writer?
Oh, yes. Yes, I guess especially the creative process is very similar. Because I remember when I was in college, we would get our assignments. And the first thing we always did was, my friends and I, we would just sit down and chat, like not about the project itself, or other things. And we started with this tradition of doing origamis. Ooh. And it was just this thing that happened very organically. We just, it was a great way to make our minds wander and not be, stressing about our project. Mm-hmm. And somehow, by the time we sat down, like maybe a few hours later, a day later, we had the project sort of sorted out in our heads. And so, I still think that happens with picture books or probably any kind of writing. I think whenever I have an idea, I always let it simmer for a little bit. And even afterwards, when I'm working on a revision and someone gives me a suggestion, I never sit down right away. I always let it simmer and wait to see what my brain will come up with, without stressing about it. And that's how sometimes we're taking a shower and just we get that solution, all of a sudden. So I think that's the big similarity that I see with the process. Mm-hmm. And of course, with architecture, it's all about creativity. Mm-hmm. And I love that. I love art in general. I identify as a creative type. So I think once I decided I wasn't going to go back to architecture, that was after I had my second child, I was sure, like, okay, I need to do something. It has to be a creative work. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I found
and then you found children's book writing. That's wonderful. I've had such I'm at a place in my life right now where I'm just fascinated by everything, and we host international kids in our home, and the first two kids we hosted were architectural students from Italy. And they came over to take a course in the summertime, and it just being around them and feeling that creative energy from them. I think they had to create a chair out of cardboard that would hold a rather large person. I love creative people, and it just helped me see architecture in a new creative way. And so now when I'm walking around cities and we were talking about my wife and I traveling to Central America a lot lately, I'm just fascinated by the different architecture we encounter in those places. And so, I can definitely see the connection between being a creative architect and being a picture book writer.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Now, LillyBelle, a Damsel Not in Distress, is available for pre-order right now. You also have another book that's will be available soon. Can you give us just a little preview of that book?
Yeah, sure. Of course. So that's Biza's Carnival. It's an own voices story. So it tells the story of this little girl from Brazil, in Brazil, and she's preparing to celebrate Carnival with the help of her Biza, and Biza means great grandmother in Portuguese. And so they go out together, they get fabric, the whole energy of Carnival starts taking over as they prepare. But there's a problem because Biza, she's the great grandmother, so she cannot go out. She stays home. And, so our character, Clara, she has to find a solution for that because she loves her Biza so much. And yeah, so it's a story of, relationship with family and like Clara and her great grandmother. And it has a lot of musicality, a lot of, it appeals a lot to the senses. It talks about, the aromas, the smells, the colors, and the vibrancy of Carnival. So I think, I hope people will enjoy that one too.
Absolutely. Just one question. One of the things that I've noticed as I travel to different countries where English is not the native language, I love to go in and visit bookstores. And one of the things that kind of disappoints me is that most of the books that I find in the bookstores are English books that are translated into Spanish or Portuguese or whatever. Is there? Do you notice a difference between children's books that are being written in Brazil for Brazilian audience, and are they different than the books that are being written for the audience in the U.S.?
Yes, I think they definitely have a different style.
Uh-huh.
I haven't been able to pinpoint exactly how they're different. I think word count. I think is a big difference. I always notice that the picture books, because in the States, picture books are supposed to be like 500 words. Mm-hmm. And I know, and I am kind of afraid of make a statement that's not 100% true, but I noticed that the books here seem to be longer.
Uh-huh.
I also see lots of translations here from English. Mm-hmm. I think and again, I'm not 100% sure this is accurate, but as much as we see difference between European books, the same kind of difference with European books and American books, I think you can see that same kind of difference with the Brazilian books.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Fascinating.
Know what I mean?
I think so. Yeah. This kind of thought is just, one of those things. It's just like you said earlier, an idea that's just simmering in my head, and we're just going to let it sit back and see where it takes us. Speaking of taking us, where can we go to learn more about Joana Pastro and more about LillyBelle, a damsel not in distress?
Okay, so, well, first of all, Joana is with only one N. Mm-hmm. It's Joana, P as in Peter, ASTRO.com. That's my website. And you can find me on Twitter at J-O Pastro. And on Instagram at Joana Pastro. And I think that's it. And LillyBelle, a damsel not in distress, is available for pre-order.
Yes,
I think that's it.
Yeah, what a great thing to be waiting for. Order it now for your kids, get them excited about it, and then when it arrives, it's going to be like a party. You can open up the book, have that one of those box opening things, and really be happy and excited to sit down and spend time reading together. We've had a great time speaking to the author of LillyBelle, a damsel not in distress, Joana Pastro. Joana, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I had a blast and it was wonderful. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guests will be Kathy McMillan and Julia Castano. They'll be here to tell us all about the Runaway Shirt. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. If you are the author of a fantastic children's book, we would love to have you as a guest on the show. Being a guest, it's fun, it's easy, it gives you the chance to tell thousands of people about your fantastic children's book, and it doesn't cost a thing. All you need to do is to go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the Authors Click Here button at the top of the page, and then you'll see an option to click on Be a Guest. That's all it takes. It really is easy. And like I said, it doesn't cost a thing. We want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. Of course, we want to thank our guest, Joana Pastro. I want to thank my amazing team, starting with my amazing daughter, Alejandra, my amazing producer, Fatima, my amazing author ambassador, Peggy. And of course, I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. But most of all, I want to thank my amazing listeners. You are wonderful. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for being there for your kids, for making the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.